Welcome to John and Lisa's Jazz Joint. We're going to be looking at the song Love Me or Leave Me today by Ruth Etting. We'll take a closer look at Ruth Etting's life after the song, but to begin with, here's a song from 1928, Love Me or Leave Me. Love me or leave me, let me be lonely. You won't believe me, I love you only. I'd rather be lonely than happy with somebody else. You might find the night time's the right time for kissing, but nighttime is my time for just reminiscing, regretting instead of forgetting with somebody new. There'll be no one unless that someone is you. I intend to be independently blue. I want your love, but I don't want to borrow. Have it today, to give back tomorrow. For my love is your love, there's no love for nobody else. Love me or leave me or let me be lonely. You won't believe me, I love you only. I'd rather be lonely than happy with somebody else. You might find the night time's the right time for kissing, but nighttime is my time for just reminiscing, regretting instead of forgetting with somebody else. There'll be no one unless that someone is you. I intend to be independently blue. I want your love, but I don't want to borrow. To have it today, to give back tomorrow. For my love is your love. There's no love for nobody else. That song then from 1928 was kind of resurrected in 1955 when Doris Day, James Cagney, uh, did the life portrayal of Ruth Etting in the movie Love Me or Leave Me. So let's go back in time to 1920. Basically, we have a young girl, Ruth Etting, who loved to sketch. All of her textbooks were filled with drawings, so much so that her parents had to buy the books so they couldn't be passed on to another student. And they saw that she had a skill, so that they agreed to send her to art school in Chicago. And so this young girl of 16 left Nebraska and went to Chicago, Illinois. While she was there, she was very talented in designing. I suppose that was an offshoot of her ability to draw or her inclination to sketch. And she was hired as a person that designed costumes for a nightclub. The nightclub was the Marigold Garden nightclub in Chicago, and it wasn't long before she became part of the whole nightclub scene. She would join the chorus line and would be singing and dancing with the rest of the girls, as well as designing the costumes. Outside of the nightclub, she got another job designing costumes, so much so that she was so good that she was offered a partnership in it. Well, it wasn't long, I suppose, that she left the art school behind her and was full time in the nightclub life. She met a fellow by the name of Merlin Schneider. He was a bit of a gangster. His nickname was Mo the Gimp. And he would carry a gun around and wave it at people. And he loved to frighten people. He frightened her too, so much so that he divorced his wife and married Ruth Etting. Yeah, she said she married him 9/10 in fear, and 1/10 in pity because he was an older man. At any rate, he had connections in Chicago, and before long, she was known as Miss City Hall because Mo Snyder would use all of his connections in the city to make sure that she had work around the city. In 1927, the two of them moved, now a married couple, moved from Chicago to New York to audition for the Ziegfeld Follies. Irving Berlin had recommended to Flo Ziegfeld that Ruth Etting had potential as a singer and dancer. While Flo didn't actually hear her sing or see her dance, he just asked her to walk on the stage. And on the basis of the fact that she did not have big ankles, he hired her because he didn't like ladies with big ankles. And he gave her a song to sing, and sure enough, the opportunity came along when one of the regular singers had drunk himself out of a job, I guess you could put it that way, and Ruth took his place and sang in the Ziegfeld Follies. Towards the end, she suggested that the song Love Me or Leave Me, which she recorded in 1928, should become part of the Ziegfeld Follies, and also in a stage production called Simple Simon that was being put on in New York but tested in Boston. At any rate, the other part of her career was in Hollywood. They had her go there to do movie shorts. There would be 5-10 minutes in which she would do a song, and that was basically the plot, her song. She would go on to do 3 feature movies as well. Now, they got married in 1922. By 1934, Mo's behavior was becoming very erratic, and it was beginning to affect Ruth's career, so much so that by 1937, she filed for divorce. And of course, he did not contest it because she was giving him all of the benefit of her wealth. Over time in her career, she had always put aside money. And this frugal way of living, because she made her own clothes and she did her own housekeeping. I mean, she looked after herself. She used this money that she set aside to buy real estate in California. So much so that when she did die in 1978, her estate was valued at $200 million. So she was a very prudent young lady. At any rate, getting back to our story with Mo, the gangster, the divorce went through. She paid him $50,000, paid his gambling debts, and bought a house for his mother. And she thought she was rid of him. She was happy to be rid of him. Well, that wasn't the end of the story, however. In January of the following year, she had taken up with her pianist, a fellow by the name of Merv Alderman. And when Mo Snyder heard of this affair going on, because Merv was still a married man, he phoned and threatened to kill them all, to kill Ruth, to kill Merv, and even to kill his daughter, Edith, who was working for Ruth Etting. But nothing transpired for 5 or 6 months. However, in the summer, Mo traveled to Hollywood, and he cornered Alderman as he was leaving a radio station and forced him to take him to the house where Ruth and Edith were. The 4 of them were in the house, and of course Mo was brandishing this gun, and when Mo thought that Alderman was making a move, he shot him. And then having shot him, he said, well, that got that out of my system. You can phone the police. So they phoned the police. Mo was arrested. Make a long story short, he was put on trial and found guilty of attempted murder. He served a year or so in prison. But Ruth Etting and Mo Alderman did not want to press the charges to extend his stay in prison, and he would later be found in Chicago around 1955. He was once again a person of some interest. As far as Ruth and Merv Alderman, that was pretty much the end of her entertaining career. In 1938, they moved out to Colorado Springs, where Merv Alderman had grown up. He opened a restaurant there. They lived quietly from 1937 until he passed in 1966. He was 10 years younger than her. She would continue to live in Colorado Springs until 1978 when she passed. And with the exception of the year 1947, she basically stayed out of show business. In 1947, though, she had been invited to the Copacabana in New York City, and she had done that one engagement. But aside from that, like at that point in time, she would be in her 50s. So a very colorful career, this Ruth Etting that we've been looking at today. I hope that you have enjoyed it. She obviously was America's sweetheart in the 1920s and 30s, and songs like Shine On Harvest Moon, 10 Cents a Dance, Love Me or Leave Me are just part of the 60 songs that she put on the Billboard. She had a very interesting career, a very interesting life, and as I say, she certainly should not be forgotten. Ruth Etting. And so, until we meet the next time, this is John and Lisa saying, take care, see you soon.